Hey friends, Lissa here for another video. Today I want to talk about how I personally know that I'm eating too many fats in my day. Aside from using Chronometer, there are signs and symptoms that I do experience that let me know that I've overdone it on a little bit of fats, and I wanted to talk about those because I do follow the 80-10-10 ratio, so 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10% fats, but it fluctuates every day. It depends on what I eat, it depends on what I'm having, but I try to hover around the 10% mark because that's where I feel the best. I actually feel the best on 8% fats, but there are days where I get up to the 13-15% fats mark. And it is really hard to keep your fat intake low. I wanted to talk about what I learned in the Proteinaholics book by Garth Davis, and he talks about how a lot of people say that the low-fat diets didn't work in the 70s, but according to his research and his comparisons, we actually never went on a low-fat diet in the 70s. Low-fat, according to the standards or whatever, is 30%, and 30% is way too high for me now that I've been eating at 10%. 30% is considered high for me. The average person's eating around 35 to 45% calories from fats, which is so high. When I was a gourmet raw foodist, some days I was pushing 65% fats. And I have some old journals from when I used to try to be raw for the last 10 years. And I want to read a couple entries for you in another video because it's really interesting to look back on what I was eating and the symptoms that I was experiencing and comparing them to today, how I've thrived on this low-fat raw vegan compared to a high-fat gourmet raw vegan full of avocados and coconuts and oils and all of that. But it was causing so many issues, which I'm going to talk to you about in this video. But we never went on a true low-fat diet in the 70s. We just didn't. We were technically considered moderate fat or higher fat because 30% is too high. I believe personally that a low-fat diet is anything from 5% fats. Obviously that's quite low, and you should only do that if you're healing candida or going through heavy detox. 5% fats will speed up a detox in your body, but 10% is good for body maintenance, up to 15%, or maybe even, it depends on the person, and again, depends on the symptoms, but up to probably 18 to 20% max that would be considered where you'd be pushing over into moderate and then to high fats. But I would say the 10 to 20% mark is low fat. Now, everyone, again, is going to be different. Some people may need a little extra fats, and some may need less, and your day might be different. Maybe some days you eat more fats, some days you might feel like you need less, but this is what I want to talk to you about, is finding out where your personal sweet spot is for your fat percentage. Now, you should be using Chronometer, www.chronometer.com with no H. You can enter in all your foods that you eat throughout the day, and it'll give you a fat percentage so you can gauge where your fats are. And again, as I've said in other videos, I do really good at 8% fats, but I do move up some days up to 15%, rare occasions. But I know when I've had too much fat because I will get tired a little bit after the meal, lethargy, because all these people say you need fats to keep your the sugar in your blood for longer, or satiated. And yeah, fat does that, but it makes you tired because your body is working overtime to deal with all the sugars and the food that you've eaten. When you're eating low fat, you have way more energy because you absorb the sugars super fast, and fat doesn't interfere with any insulin production or function. So you tend to have a lot more energy when you eat really low fat compared to eating the higher fat. So when you creep up there, sometimes you feel like you get a little bit more sluggish, a little bit more lethargy. If you go a couple days eating higher fat and you've battled with candida or parasites and things like that in the past, you may notice couple little symptoms popping up here and there if you continue on a higher fat. That's another reason why you know that you have too much fats. The fats keep sugars in your bloodstream, and if your cells aren't using the sugar immediately, guess who's going to eat it? Your candida, your bacteria, your yeasts, all that kind of stuff. So the goal is to have a low-fat diet so that when you do eat fruit and vegetables and all of that great stuff, your cells absorb it immediately. The insulin opens your cell and everything goes in perfectly awesome because the fats aren't in the way to block the insulin from doing its job. And I'm going to post a link below to Dr. Michael Greger's video about how fat interferes with insulin function so that you can really get a gist of how that works. He has like a little graph and everything, little drawings of how the fat interacts with insulin function. So go watch that. It's a very important video. Another thing, you crave more fats when you eat more fats. So the more fats that you eat, the more you crave. And that's one huge signal that I know that I've had too many fats. If I start to eat too many fats, then I'm going to start to want to eat more fats. And that's my clue that I've had too much, and maybe the next couple days I lower it down so that I'm not going overboard in that area. A lot of people who do raw, who aren't finding that they're losing weight, maybe eating over 20% of their calories from fats, and again, it's interfering with the insulin function. So if you're trying to lose the weight, lower your fats down to about 10%, and that should facilitate your weight loss. And another thing that I've noticed is that when I do eat a lot of fats, in the past, not so much today because I really don't care about cooked food anymore, doesn't even faze me, but in the beginning when I started doing the raw thing, I noticed that on higher fat days, because when I started I did eat a little bit more fat than I should have, but on those specific days I did start craving things that I shouldn't. I did start craving you know, cookies, and you crave those things that we think are carbs but aren't actually. Like a muffin is 45% fats, donuts are like 57% fats, pizzas are like half fat. So we crave these things that we think are carbs but they're actually half fat. So your body's craving the sugar, but you're eating the fat, so you're getting this like battle between the sugar and the fat in your bloodstream. If you cut the fat down to 10%, you can eat a lot of fruit and not experience those things. Again, in the first little while, when you first start going raw vegan or you lower your fat down to 10%, it's going to take a little bit of time for your body to adjust because the day before, maybe you had lots of fat. So the fat's going to be in your bloodstream for a little bit and it's going to take a little bit to balance out. So to get used to being around the 10% mark. But once you get there, you feel a lot lighter, you feel a lot better. But again, guys, everyone's going to be different. The 80-10-10 ratios, I personally believe, is a guide. Some people, again, do better at 15% fats. Some people do better at 8% fats. And again, it's a daily thing. Some are better at 20% fats one day, and then they do better at 8% fats the other day. But the goal is to maintain a low-fat diet. And that's what you should be aiming for. You should be aiming for eating plenty of fresh, raw fruits and vegetables. And the more fresh, raw fruits and vegetables you eat, the more fat you can eat because it's a percentage. So the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the more fats you can eat. So if you do want to have that avocado or the avocado soup or guacamole or something like that, just eat a whole bunch more produce. Eat lots of lettuce or have way more bananas and fruit in the morning and for snacks. That will help balance out the fat for the rest of the day. So you can still have your fats, just eat more produce of other things to balance them out. That's really all it is. So I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you got a little bit of information from it. I highly recommend getting this book, Proteinaholic by Dr. Garth Davis. It's a really awesome book about our obsession with protein. So if you're vegan, it's a great book. I obviously don't do cooked food. Again, if you do cooked food, that's fine. I feel best on a raw vegan diet with no cooked food. I believe that it's a survival food, not a thrival food. But again, that's just my opinion. That's how I feel. And if you feel okay doing that, that's cool. But I highly recommend that book because it goes into the science behind the protein thing. And he talks about fats in there too a lot. So he is also pro-fruitarian. He likes the raw vegan diet. So that's another thing that I really like about Dr. Garth Davis. So hope you guys liked this video. Click like if you did, subscribe to my channel for more videos, and you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouFood, all at Raw Food Romance. I have my kitty here. I'm gonna go have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I wanted to send a big, huge hug and love to all of you guys out there because I love all of you. Thank you for all your support. Watching my videos, commenting on my Facebook and my Instagram. I really truly appreciate everything, and I love everything you guys say. It's just fills my heart, and I absolutely love hearing stories of people changing and me inspiring you guys. It really is the best Valentine's Day gift I could have. So until the next video, guys, have a wonderful day and fruit on.